Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of Space Snacks. I have my special guest, Derrick Pitts, and let me just bring him on right now. And Derrick, hi.
Hi, Sai. Hi.
Derrick is the Chief Astronomer at the Franklin Institute Science Museum in Philadelphia, which is an
That's
amazing
right.
place. And it's May the 4th be with you day. So I'm dressed in my Star
Yes.
Wars, got my Leia puffs going. And so I dressed up just for you, Derrick.
I was going to do Leia puffs too, but it turns out they didn't look as good on me.
How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great over here in Philly. It's a really lovely day today, which I'm really happy about because, of course, hopefully that will lead into nice, clear skies to watching tonight.
Oh, yes, definitely. Now, how long have you been at the Franklin Institute?
Ooh, let's see. Okay, so if you remember the last ice age across North America, I started a little bit before then. So I've been at Franklin Institute now 43 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I feel so fortunate that I was able to come out. You hosted me to give a talk, and I got to see the Science Museum, a fantastic place. Did you grow up in
Yeah.
Philadelphia area?
I did grow up in Philadelphia, and it's an interesting thing that I'm back here working or have been here working in Philly for so long because that wasn't really the plan. But as it turns out, the Franklin Institute had a really interesting job, and I just stayed on.
Okay, well, let's get into you and your love of space. Why are you such a space advocate and astronomer? Like, how did that begin for you?
Well, Cyan, I have always been interested in science in general. I've always been extraordinarily curious. I've always wanted to know what makes what work. And what really captured my attention as a kid was the great mystery of that stuff I couldn't reach out to. So the night sky became really exciting because it's so far away, yet it holds all these really tremendous mysteries, like what's the moon really made of, and why does it have those features on the surface, and what are those bright things out there, and why are they twinkling? I also read a lot as a kid, and what I was reading about was about astronomy. That seemed to catch my interest. And then I started to discover all these real mysteries about the universe, and I was hooked from there. And it's been that same way.
Oh,
Been like that ever since.
so is the moon made of cheese? Have you found out? No.
I don't know if many people know this, but it used to be that if you were on Google Maps and you zoomed in if you like turn your Google Sky to the you looked at the moon, and if you zoomed in close enough on the moon, the last image they had of the very closest view of the moon was the moon as cheese.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes, I love it. So when we're thinking about space and space exploration, are you a moon guy or are you a Mars guy? Where would you want to explore if we could send you anywhere right now?
I would go to Mars.
Ooh, why Mars?
Couple of reasons. Of all of the planets of the solar system to visit, Mars is the most benign. Mars is the one that I feel like I could most easily and successfully survive on. The other reason, I think, for me, is that it's the most interesting in terms of its geology, because in many ways, Mars is like an Earth analog. There are so many geologic features on Mars that look so much or seem to be very similar to those on Earth. And then there's one last thing, and that is, the geologic features on Mars have never been visited before. So it would be like an entirely new planet to discover all these incredible nooks and crannies that we can see when we look at high resolution images of Mars.
Yep, that would be awesome. Now, if you're going to go to Mars, what are you going to be eating there, Derrick? What's your favorite type of food?
Well, I really hope I can get my favorite type of food there. And trust me, no, it is not Mars bars, just in case anybody asks about that. I really like exotic food, Si. So
Oh,
I like Middle Eastern food. And if you continue to move further east from that, when you get into to Mongolia and South Asian food. I love South Asian food on both sides, both the Vietnamese side and mostly Indian. I think my favorite is Indian.
I
So
I recently went to India last year, and I never really ate Indian food before that. What blew my mind? How have I been missing this amazing cuisine? Have you been
yeah,
have you
absolutely.
been to India?
Not yet,
Culinary delight when
but
you
I will.
go.
So wait, say that you had not had Indian food before you went to India?
Not really. No, I never went to any Indian restaurants or anything. I don't know what I was thinking.
Uh-huh.
I yeah. And
Yeah, so
so
you really didn't come alive until you got to eat Indian food.
yes, and it was so amazing. Now, my mission is to like learn how to cook Indian food here at home. Do you cook at home?
Mm. I do cook at home, yes. Right. I haven't been, how do I say it? I haven't been daring enough to try to do anything really Indian. So that's a challenge I have set out for myself. I have a lot of time on my hands now, like we all do. So I think this is a really good opportunity for me to try to tackle some Indian dishes that I really like.
Now, when you're cooking, do you and your wife cook a lot together, or do you typically, are you the person in the kitchen doing the cooking?
We have all variations of that. Sometimes I cook myself and she doesn't help. She cooks, I don't help. And then, actually, more often than not, we're doing it together. And sometimes I'll be her sous chef. Sometimes she'll be my sous chef. It just depends which way we're going and what the dish is, really.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Now, thinking back to Mars and your meal on Mars, do you have a favorite? Because you told me the types of food you would eat, but what if you could only have one dish would you want to have?
Ooh. Haha. Okay, so I think my one of my favorites for sure. There's really two, and I have to do the two because I don't think I could live without the other one. So I really like what are called biryanis, and biryanis are a rice that has raisins in it, spices, and chunks of protein. It can be either chicken or lamb. I tend to prefer the lamb, and it's all really delicious together. So that's one. And then the other one is something that's much more Southeast Asian, toward the Vietnamese side, and that's a very, very thin glass noodle called Chow Mei Fun. And Chow Mein Fun is this very thin noodle with these very delicious Asian spices, and then a mixture of proteins that go in it. And it can typically be very spicy, and that's really delicious too.
Oh, both of them sound amazing. Now, the first one, when you said rice and spices and raisin, reminded me of like a beef tagine, like a Moroccan beef tagine. Is it similar to that?
Yeah, it is. It's along that scale, right? So you know how often in cuisines you can have sort of like a continuum of a flavor profile and composition, and depending where you are in the world, you'll shift along that continuum from being either sweet or spicy or something like this falls on that continuum like that. Yes.
Oh, I'm going to look it up. I can't wait to taste that. Who would you want to have this meal with on Mars?
Ooh, let me see. Okay, now ha 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 ha. Let me see if I can pull it together here. So, I would certainly like the Obamas to be there. Gee, that would be fun.
Yes, I'd love that.
Right? That would be cool. Um, there's a couple of scientists I I have. Try to remember my list, Cyan, that I came up with just a couple of days ago. I think one person I think I wanted to have there was, I think it was Ice Cube. I wanted to be there,
Now, why Ice Cube, which
which
is
is kind
awesome?
of
Because yes, he was on your list, and Richard Branson, and a couple of other
yes,
people. But why Ice Cube?
right. So the reason why I'd like Ice Cube to be there is because Ice Cube has a really unique perspective on how he turned himself into who he is these days. And it all has to do with how he felt like as he was growing up. He was in a situation that there was no way that he could escape if he was going to play by the rules of the dominant culture in American society. So what he decided to do was to get together with his colleagues in his neighborhood and create a whole new way to become tremendously successful using both his own talents and the tools that he had at his disposal. And he's done a tremendous job at creating, not single-handedly, but in concert with a number of others, creating almost an entire culture that allows African American culture to find another place for success and self expression that is unlike anything else we've seen in the country so far. So I
Oh,
think that's why I think he'd be interesting to have there. Now, when I say along with Richard Branson, the reason why Richard Branson is because Branson has this tremendous idea about space tourism, democratizing low Earth orbit in a way that allows everybody to become an astronaut if you can pull the cash together, even if it's just for half an hour or so. But it's the perspective that he can give people
right.
through that tourism plan. This is the idea where right now the price is kind of high. $250,000, you jump on a spacecraft one afternoon, you fly up to the edge of space, you're up there for 15 or 20 minutes, you roll over, you come back down, and you've been to space, essentially, right?
Mhm.
But you don't need any special training, you don't have to be all that kind of stuff. But once the price actually starts to come down in this industry at some point in the future, it's much more accessible to the general public. And that view from space can entirely change your perspective on this planet, who we are on this planet, and how we all have to live and work together to preserve this planet for humans to live on in harmony with the
Yeah.
environment.
Oh, it's so true, right? Speaking of harmony, are you a Star Wars or a Star Trek person?
I am a Star Trek person. Now, it's not that I didn't enjoy the Star Wars films. A lot of fun. Better, though.
I am a Star Trek, even though I'm dressed in Star Wars, I am totally a Star Trek girl, number one. Star Wars,
Hmm.
number two. Because who doesn't want to trek across the galaxy versus fighting your way across the galaxy?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. That's one thing. As I noticed that when I was watching one of the other brands, not the other brands, but one of the other components of the Star Wars brand, that within the first episode or two, there was a little bit too much fighting for me. Whereas when I looked at the latest addition to the Star Trek brand, there was still a tremendous amount of exploration happening. And you know
Right.
what? I think it's that exploration piece that really catches my attention and curiosity.
I'm right there with you. It's the same for me. And so, but I grew up with both of them and I've really enjoyed having that as part of my space story, I guess you would say.
Yes, true.
So, now with your meal on Mars and this amazing table of guests that you have, I want to get back to the Obamas, by the way, in a minute. But what would you want to serve drink wise? What do you have a go to drink?
Well, yes, it actually goes it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. But here's what I would want to do with that. So, so I really enjoy good wine, but I have to be really careful when I say that because, often when you talk about drinking good wine, Sometimes people tend to go to the end of wine snobbery, and it isn't that so much as it is that there are a wide variety of flavors and types of wine. And when I was first getting started, learning and understanding wine, I didn't really like wine that much. But as I dug deeper, I began to learn that there are certain types that I like that really do something spectacular with a meal. So when you put these wines together with the right food, it not only enhances the food, but the food enhances the wine. And then what happens is if everybody's enjoying it, it enhances the whole experience.
Oh, so true. Now, is your wife a wine drinker also?
Yes, and her palate is way better than mine. I'm okay, but she's really good, and she has this really great skill that I haven't developed yet, Cyan, and it is that, and I know she has it innately. She can read from a wine menu and figure out what's going to be the bottle to choose from that wine menu according to what we're having for dinner and what the restaurant has to offer. And that can be a difficult thing to do at times. I'm intimidated by that, but she can really cut her way through to good stuff.
Wow, I have no ability in that at all. And so are you guys preferably red or white?
Well, we go both ways. Linda really likes white burgundies. So in that sense, she likes the old world white burgundies, from Europe and stuff like that. And for me, not so much. There are some old world white wines that I like, but I really prefer, and it almost sounds gauche to say this, but I really do. I prefer the Californian and the New Zealand wines. The whites are really, really crisp and sharp, and some of the Cabernet Sauvignons from Napa Valley are just explosively delicious. So it depends what it is. So, for example, dinner tonight is going to be sauteed scallops with asparagus tips, and I know that we're going to drink a delicious, well-chipped Chardonnay from Napa. No, this one is going to be from the Sonoma coast, made by a vintner that I really, really, really like. So we'll pair that together. But, depending what the meal is, we'll pull out some really great red. It could be some red Zinfandel. It could be a Zinfandel. It could be a Pinot Noir. It could be, a Cabernet Sauvignon. It could even be something as extensive as a, let's see, what's the one? It'll come back to me in a second. But in any case, there's lots of good wine out there that we can choose from.
All right. I may be able to make dinner. What is it? A 4-hour flight? What time are you serving at?
Not until you get here. So you jump on the flight, let us know when you'll arrive, and we'll put a plate out for you. And it's so nice we can sit outside the yard today.
That is the perfect answer, Derrick. Now, I want to get back to the Obamas. And have you met them before?
Yes, as it turns out, I have. Yes. It was during my time at the White House, shall I say.
What were you doing at the White House?
It's a little bit facetious in that several years ago, during the Obama administration, someone on the Obama team, in support of Barack Obama's interest in education and elementary and secondary school education, created a White House Star Party event that was held on the south lawn of the White House. And for this Star Party, they brought in about 100, I think it was 100 middle school children, 8th grade middle school children. And outside on the lawn, there were about maybe 6 or 8 telescopes set up, some portable planetariums, and a whole host of hands-on activities that could be done by the kids out on the White House lawn. And so I got a call from a very good friend of mine who's really well connected. And this is in September. The event's going to be in October. And he called me up on the phone. He said, "What are you doing on October the 4th?" And I said, "Nothing." He said, "Great. I need you to be in Washington, D.C. with a telescope on that date." I was like, "Okay, sure. Why?" And he said, Well, I can't tell you, but I need you to be there. I was like, Steve, what's going on? He said, if you breathe a word of this to anyone, not only will I completely cut you out of this, but I'll never call you back again. You can't say a word. So what's going on? Star party on the White House lawn. We need you to come with a telescope because we know you can really, you're really good at working a telescope in a center city environment. It's got to be perfect because the president's going to be there. It's like, oh, I can't tell anybody? You got to be kidding me. So sure enough, I had to ship the telescope down 2 weeks ahead of time, right? And then I went down for the evening, set up the telescope on the lawn, and the telescope that I brought was the telescope that the president and his wife first used right after his press conf, like announcement, welcome for the evening. And then later on in the evening, he and Michelle and the girls came over to my telescope, like the last one they looked through. And here's the funny story about this. I'll try to make it brief, but here's the funny story about this. The youngest daughter was too short to reach the telescope. Okay? So, like any astronomer would do with a child that's too small to reach the telescope, if you don't have a step stool, you pick the kid up by the waist, right? So, here I am on the White House lawn. I know there's a lot of security. It's dark. I'm going to pick up the first family's daughter to hold her up so she can look at the eyepiece. So here's what I did. I sort of reached down, grabbed her by the waist, and then, remembering that I had seen some guys in ninja suits with machine guns, I sort of went, and then grabbed her by the waist and held her up to the eyepiece after I was sure I wasn't going to get shot.
That's so awesome. And what a great experience to be able to do that. Speaking of, astronomy and your love of astronomy, do you have a favorite celestial object? And if so, what is it and why?
Sure. Favorite celestial object. So, visible to the naked eye or not?
No, it
Telescopic or what?
doesn't matter. Just your thing. It could be something you see in the night sky or just something you need a telescope for.
Okay, two things. So first of all, I think one of my favorite astronomical objects that I've seen images of. There's this really cool object called the Sombrero Galaxy. The Sombrero Galaxy. And the Sombrero Galaxy is really a spherical galaxy that has a dust ring that happens to be visible almost edge on when observing from our planet in a telescope. I really like that. I think it really looks great, in these astronomical images. Hubble Space Telescope images make it look really good, and that's cool. But actually, I really like to do the eyeball observing because of a very special reason. And so my favorite targets for that, Jupiter is really cool to see in the sky because of the connection for us as observers back to ancient sky watchers who could watch the planets and recognize patterns and predict when they were going to show up, all without computers and all that kind of stuff. But then the other one is the Andromeda Galaxy. And here's why. When you look at the Andromeda Galaxy in the evening sky, when the sky's nice and dark, and you're in a beautiful place where there's no extra light, you have this sort of inky purplish sky with these stars sort of scattered around, you can see the smudge of light that is the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, that galaxy is 2.9 million light years away. It is the most distant object visible with the human eye, but we can see it. And so we see it as it appeared almost 3 million years ago. But here's the kicker. This is it. When you look at that galaxy and you see it, photons from those stars enter your eye, strike your retina, and create an electrical impulse that goes to your visual cortex, creating the image that you see. So photons from those stars from 3 million years ago reach out and touch you, so it's interactive. Oh my gosh, my brain has touched a galaxy. It just blows my mind when I think about that.
I never even thought of it that way. And that is so true and so amazing. And it really goes into light and all the information that it carries throughout the universe.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And so one of the things I love to do with that concept is turn it around for kids. Mm-hmm. And And I turn it around this way. If I'm doing a star party someplace, I'll often ask people to, with their flashlights, have the kids turn the flashlight toward the sky and turn it on and off in a pattern, whatever pattern they want to come up with. Hopefully getting them to understand that they're sending their own signal out into the universe that will travel forever and ever and ever. Theoretically,
Yeah.
But hopefully it gets the concept across that they can be connected to the universe in this way. They've put their own signal out there that will last forever.
Oh, I love that. A couple of people have said, well, they love my outfit and they love the sustainable message that you're giving. And, oh, Lauren, you really needed to see Star Trek. David Lockett is on. He says, Sombrero Galaxy is her favorite with our amateur astronomers. So hi, David. Astronomy in Chile Educator Ambassador Program is how we met, you and I, and David, who is also connected right now. And so what role has outreach been in your life and that call to be able to make sure people share this love that you have?
Say it one more time, please, Cyan.
Thinking about education and outreach, and have you always wanted to engage in education outreach and share your love of astronomy?
In a word, yes. And the reason why is because all this stuff about the universe is amazing. It's absolutely incredible. And when you sort of match up the science, the physics, the chemistry of what's happening here on Earth and what happens out in the universe, it helps to establish this kind of connection between us and the universe. But just a second, hold on. Is the noise in the background too much?
No, it's okay.
Okay, great. But the other thing about this that I think is really important is that, sure, I love it and I can understand it and all that sort of stuff, but guess what? It doesn't mean anything for me to hold it here myself. I want to share it with other people so that they can have at least some piece of the same kind of joy and pleasure that I have at understanding how this all works and how we are such an integral part of all of it. So it's really sharing the joy and the pleasure that I'm after almost more than anything else.
Now, going back to star parties, and obviously you had the ultimate star party on the White House lawn, but do you like to throw parties?
Yes, I do like to throw parties. And, it's a shame that what has transpired this spring has happened, because I actually had a party planned for next week. And here's the party that I had planned. I was going to bring a group of people from the East Coast out to the West Coast, where we would visit around this Los Angeles area 6 really fantastic astronomy or space science resources. Griffith Observatory, Carnegie Observatory Laboratories, the California Science Center. I was going to try and visit SpaceX. And here's the party part. I had arranged for a dinner for 15 people with wine provided by my favorite winery from up in Napa Valley, under the 100-inch Hooker reflector telescope at Mount Wilson Observatory.
What?
That was my party plan. Yes.
No, I'm so bummed. I mean, obviously you are even more, but that sounds amazing.
Oh, of course. Under the 100-inch Hooker reflector telescope, the telescope that Edwin Hubble used to help us understand the size of the universe, all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, right there under that telescope.
I now see how you roll. That's amazing. Are you going to try and reschedule for next year?
Absolutely. Hey, if you're available, join in. It'll be fun.
Yay! Have you ever been to a Yuri's Night or thrown a Yuri's Night party at the Franklin Institute?
Yes, we actually did. We incorporated a Yuri's Night celebration into one of our regular monthly Night Skies at the Observatory programs in 2019, and it was really very successful. We all had a great time. It was wonderful.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And so I've been fortunate to be an ambassador for a Kennedy Space Center. And then also this year, I was supposed to be at the LA one. I know. And David, who is online, David has been an ambassador too. So they always ask us for recommendations. I think you're going to be my recommendation for next year. So that
Oh, that would be really great. That'd be fantastic.
yeah, partying under the space shuttle, right?
Yeah, for sure. That would definitely be the thing to do. Yeah, I think party, this idea, things I like to do with this party, I've discovered works really well with adults, is that I've done events where I've been a guest, and maybe you've done this too, where you've been a dinner guest for a group of people who like to have an exciting speaker come in just for like a little dinner party thing. And what I've discovered is that dinner in small groups with astronomy and wine go really, really well together.
So
Yeah.
true, and anybody out there listening, both Derrick and I, we're available if you're serving up a nice meal. Right? Now,
Absolutely, you bet.
I obviously can talk to you forever, Derrick. I feel so fortunate to have met you through the Astronomy and Chile Education Ambassador Program and become your friend. And thank you for coming on Space Snacks. Before we go, how can our audience connect with you and follow you and be more involved?
Sure. So it's easy to follow me. I am on Twitter. My handle is @CoolAstronomer on Twitter, @CoolAstronomer. You can find me on Facebook, Derrick Hartwell Pitts. You'll find me there. And I'm at the Franklin Institute Science Museum, and it's really easy to reach me there. I have an email address. It's just dpitts@fi.edu, like Franklin Institute. So dpitts@fi.franklininstitute, @CoolAstronomer on Twitter. Easy to find. Please reach out to me. Let's say hello. And Sai, I was so excited to meet you when we went to Chile. Remember we had lunch together that first day that we both arrived in Chile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special.
It was great. And I've really come to learn a lot about what you do and your enthusiasm for astronomy and space exploration. And that you are a geo explorer just blows my mind. And so I really am envious of what you do, and I'm looking forward to another opportunity to tag along with you on some kind of adventure sometime.
We definitely have to make that happen. And I know that you're doing star parties at the Franklin Institute. Are those every week?
So yes, we do star parties at Franklin. Here's how it works. We had a regular monthly program that we were doing before COVID-19 showed up called Night Skies at the Observatory. I've been doing that program for a long time. It's been very popular. People love it. Come down to the museum at night. You can look through the telescope. We have planetarium shows. We've actually just turned it into a star party at the Franklin Institute, right? But now that we're in this quarantine situation, we've turned it into Night Skies at Home. So every Thursday evening at 7:45, yours truly goes live on the Franklin Institute's Facebook page, and we do a star party online. And so we'll help you learn everything you need to know about how you can become an expert sky observer in your neighborhood. And again, it's all about sharing information from me to you that you can then share with your neighbors around your region, wherever you live, so that you can all experience the joy and the wonders of the universe together.
Oh, that's such a great message. Thank you, Derrick, for joining us on Space Snacks. And everybody out there listening, thank you for tuning in. Yeah, everybody, may the 4th...
For having me, Cyan.
Yes, and may the 4th be with you, Derrick.
And with you too, Sai.
Bye, everyone.